Denver got like screwed in this top 100 players ranking. And I'm not even trying to sit there and say like offensively, I get it. The only guy who maybe even should have been even considered was Emmanuel Sanders, who I think had a better season than Thomas did. But that's besides the point. I get Denver's offense was some hot trash. Understand that nobody made it. Defensively though, we had three guys. Really? Brandon Marshall didn't make it. TJ Ward didn't make it. Okay. But let me tell you something that I thought was great. And I'm going to get back to my Broncos point, but I had to put that one out there first. I'm a big believer in how your peers view you. I've said this before when it came to Kobe. There's guys who have played against both Kobe. There's guys who have played against, think about how traumatic an experience this is, have played against Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron. Rest their souls, hope they can still sleep at night. Played against all three, right? And for the most part, they'll even sit there and tell you that Kobe was the hardest matchup. Maybe not comparing Kobe and Jordan, but Kobe and LeBron. They did not want to play Kobe. He had murderous intent in his eyes. And they were like, he's not only going to score 50 on me, he might step on my head and crack my skull. Like, that was the kind of fear Kobe put into the hearts of NBA defenders. So it made me extremely joyous when I saw Von Miller was ranked number 2. If you saw my own list, I believe I had him, or I have my list right here. I had him at number 6, right? And I thought I was ranking him kind of high. I thought he was going to get the short end of the stick and end up at like 8 or 9. Right? And I even said, from a personal reason, I had him I was biased. Like, of course I'm biased. Von Miller's my favorite defensive player. He's the best player on my favorite team. Of course I'm going to rank him high. I had Khalil Mack at 4 because he was the defensive player of the year. And usually defensive player of the year has been the top rated player. Now, you could also say that J.J. Watt's just been the best defensive player. And that's why he's always been rated higher. And that's a fair thing to say too. But when I saw Von Miller was number 2 and Khalil Mack was number 5, it made me really happy because that's what his peers think. The fans and media will tell you Khalil Mack's the best defensive player. It's him and J.J. Watt is the best defensive player in the league. I don't know why Khalil Mack has this. I don't know what the voters were thinking, but they gave him all pro at 2 positions 2 years ago, and it just really confused me. But hey, another story for another time. But like, once again, you create this narrative of he's an all-pro at 2 positions. He was defensive player of the year. And not that those aren't credible, but guys talk about him like he's the second coming of Jesus. The man don't walk on water, and he's not better than Von Miller. Let me explain something here really quick. J.J. Watt's the only guy who think you can give a push. But Von Miller is the best defensive player in football for 2 reasons. A, he puts more fear, just pure natural fear, into 300-plus pound grown men than any player since Lawrence Taylor. I'm sorry, let me take that back. Any player since Ray Lewis, and then pre-Ray Lewis, Lawrence Taylor. That's a really hard thing to do if you think about that. When you're playing a game, like a pickup game, like pickup basketball game, pickup football game at the park with your friends, and for this example, we'll say between the ages of 12 to 15, right? Or we'll even go up to say 12 to 18. You know generally who's really good on the other team and who you really don't want to be matched up against. Because that guy's probably going to whoop you. And you're really like, I don't want to look like an idiot in front of all my friends. So I'm either cheat, trip them, or continue cheating. Those are your only options. Guys like Ray Lewis and Lawrence Taylor do that with grown adults who are professionals and make a lot of money. And they're like, wow, not only is this guy going to make me look stupid, he's going to take away from my paycheck because when I want to go renegotiate a contract, they're going to tell me, why couldn't you block him? Why couldn't you do better against him? So he's literally going to affect my pay and my wallet because this guy is that good. He's also the only defensive player that you could legitimately categorize as clutch. Look at J.J. Watt. This is the great comparison. J.J. Watt, who's had 20 sacks in the back-to-back seasons, and since he entered the league, leads the league. It was 63, if I remember correctly. I saw this the other day. 63% of his sacks. No, 73, I apologize. 73% of his sacks came in the first half. Von Miller gets 62% of his sacks in the fourth quarter. Let's think about this for a second. If you just watch the game, sometimes you can just watch and you're like, oh, that's why he's great. That's why he's the best. Take the greats of any sport. Jordan's not the most accomplished basketball player of all time, but you just watch him play and you're like, yeah, that's what it looks like. He's better than me. He's better than him. No, you can't guard him. Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson, who I'd make a case for, most people would criticize me for, I'd make a case for, I think they're better than Jerry Rice. No offense to Jerry Rice. Great. One of the greatest players of all time. But they could just do things, if you watch them, Jerry Rice could never do. You just watch them, they're great. Bruce Smith is the all-time leader in sacks. And unless you're a die-hard football fan or a die-hard Buffalo Bills fan, praise your soul, you just don't know or don't care. Lawrence Taylor, I think, only ever led the league in sacks twice. He was still the most feared and dominant defensive player we've ever seen. And most people would tell you he's the second or third greatest player of all time. Von Miller's in that category of, he might not lead the league in sacks every year, but you are more terrified of that man. He is clutch. He is a Super Bowl MVP. He is unblockable. The game against the Chiefs, even though Denver got whooped in that game, he was, in the string of like 3 plays, tackled Tyreek Hill, which is a challenge in of itself. Man runs like a 4.1 40. Covered Travis Kelce, and then got a sack on Alex Smith. This is in the span of like 4 plays. When you watch him play, there's like 3 of him on the field. There's 1 in coverage, 1 getting to the quarterback, and 1 telling everybody else on defense what to do. Bottom line, the players got it right for him being number 2. He is the best defensive football player in the game. He is the most impactful defensive player in the game. And it almost makes up for how stupid they were for putting Chris Harris and Aqib Talib in the 30s and 60s. How are you the number 1 and 2 ranked corner in Pro Football Focus and by NFL.com, and yet the players are like, yeah, no, they're like the 4th and 5th best corners. Like, that's just stupid. But that's another rant. I'm not going to get into that.